Did you know that you can use Claude Code to not only do work for you, but also to teach you things? That's right. If you go to the plugins inside of your Claude Code instance, you can search here for explanatory, and as you can see, we have the explanatory output style, and this adds educational insights about implementation choices and much more. So if we choose this here, we can install it inside of Claude Code, and now we need to restart it. And after restarting Claude Code, we need to now change the actual output of Claude Code. By default, it uses the default one, which is the one that you're probably familiar with, that does things like writing code, changing things inside your code base, responding to your commands, all sorts of things. But to change this now to the one that we want, we go here to the settings or config, and as you can see, we have here output style. And I've already went ahead and changed it to explanatory, which by default, it is the default one, which completes coding tasks, like I said, and all sorts of things related to programming. And then you can simply choose here the explanatory one. We also have the learning. This one I'm going to leave for another video. And we then choose here explanatory. This means that now, instead of Claude Code only doing the work, it is also going to focus much more on explaining its decisions and trying to explain to you everything that it is doing along the way. And I find that this is very much helpful when it comes to understanding the decisions of Claude Code and learning how to do stuff. You can choose between both of these, the explanatory and the learning one, but the learning one is a bit more in-depth when it comes to how it actually does things inside of the code base, instead of just explaining things to you in plain text. This means that the learning output style is going to add certain parts of the code base, or I should say, it's going to add to certain parts of the code base a to-do item where you need to then implement stuff. But that's actually besides the point, because I think that here the explanatory one helps us a lot more with just learning. I'm going to show you here an example of something that I was doing. I was learning how to use Zig with CUDA and how to implement basically a compiled C program with Zig. So I want to have this ability to compile certain kinds of functions with CUDA and then be able to import them into Zig and interop between both of them. So have certain kinds of Z code or parts of the Z code that is doing stuff with the CPU. And then when I need to go into the GPU, I can call these functions that directly communicate with the CUDA kernel. And since I don't know exactly how to do this, and it is still something that I'm pretty new to, I decided to use Claude Code to teach me these things instead of just asking it to do the work for me, because this is not something that is yet an aspect that I need to be productive in or that I have a lot of ideas about. So I just want to learn at the moment about all of these concepts, and that is exactly what I'm doing here with Claude Code. So I ask it to, for example, first of all, go through an example that I found on GitHub, and I can actually search for this here really quickly. So I asked it to basically look at a piece of code that implemented like the thing that I wanted to do, and then I asked it to essentially compare that the code that it generated and do sort of a comparison. So I'm going to just search for that here really quickly, and then I can come back. Like I was saying, I found this Zig CUDA starter example that shows us how to use a Zig project and integrate it with CUDA, and it has here this build.zig example. So I decided to take a look at it, and then I also decided to take a look at the example that Claude Code decided to generate. So I can jump here into choosing the different approaches, and or rather, yeah, this is the one. And here we have this code that calls this and then adds the system command and then adds all of this stuff. So I took a look at both of the examples, like this code here and the code over here, and I realized that there were a couple of differences. So to be able to understand what's happening here, I decided to poke around with Claude Code and say, okay, why is this different? Why is that different? And the output that it generates is very much explanatory and geared toward teaching. So that's something very nice. And I ended up with this final explanation, which sort of made things much clearer to me, which is the linking CUDA to Zig file. This file is very concise, but it explains very well exactly what's happening inside of these 5 lines of code. So we add the object file. This is the code that I'm going to actually create to interact with CUDA, and then we need to add the library path. This tells Zig where all of the libraries live, and then we want to link the CUDA RT and then the CUDA one, and also link libc. So yeah, this is it. Basically, I just wanted to share with you really quickly this alternative way of using Claude Code, which is not to only use it to get stuff done, not only use it to be more productive, but also use it to learn stuff as you actually try to understand how things work, and as you try to get into different kinds of topics when it comes to tech and programming and coding in general. I think that this use case is very much underappreciated, but it is very useful, because for me to be able to understand all of these things and try to explore these things manually would have taken me much longer. Now, I also decided to go to Google and search things and try to understand, but the fact that here Claude Code can explain to me exactly what's happening, it means that first of all I get to understand them, and now also I can like reference in other LLMs maybe to double check the information, make sure that it is correct, and also read some documentation to make sure that all of these things that it is teaching me here is actually correct. But the most important thing is that I was able to get to this piece of knowledge, this piece of information much faster than I would have otherwise without the help of the AI. So again, just to recap, you need to, inside of Claude Code, go to plugins. Then here you search for explanatory. Now, in this case, I don't have that anymore. We can, for example, do here with learning output style. And then we simply restart here Claude Code if we're able to do so. So now we restart Claude Code and we go again to the settings, output style, and then we choose either learning explanatory or default. I'm going to put it back to default. I hope this video was helpful to you, and I'll see you on the next one.